Welcome everybody to Write Better Together. I'm John Myers. Hey, look everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, John Myers.
Hi.
So this is my absolute favorite time of year.
Okay.
I don't know, I don't know about you, but I'm just like in the best mood because I daylight savings happened, which is I think should be a holiday. And I was able to sit outside in 70-degree weather with my birds and with my dog and have sun on me and not be shivering. I was actually kind of sad to come inside to record because I just wanted to be outside today.
I like that she said with her birds. If you noticed in the video that we sent around announcing this podcast a couple weeks ago, bluebirds follow Emily everywhere she goes. And so now I know they're her birds.
Yeah, the birds are twofold because one, when I recorded that video, I didn't have my birds with me because they're really loud. In fact, you'll probably hear them one day. But they're three. I have three turtle doves. I had two turtle doves, which was more appropriate, and then they had a baby.
It's not Christmas though.
I know. And then, but so I'm writing a blog post about bird watching because I get really excited when the towhees come back. Um, the eastern towhees every year, I hear them singing, and their little song is "Drink your tea." So they just say "Drink your tea," and I know that they're back, and I'm like, "It's spring," and it's just the best. It's the best.
I've never heard of any of this. I was ready to. I'm just flabbergasted. I was ready to figure out like how these birds from nature were following you around, and mice make your clothes, right? Like little mice come and
Yes, yeah,
sew your clothes for you.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you're the bird expert. I don't know anything about this world.
Well, did you know that I'm a birder?
I don't even know what a birder is. I mean, I know you own birds.
Oh, okay. So I told you that I went on a vacation to. Hey, all of this is going to tie in, everybody, by the way, with our topic today. But because we're talking about hobbies today, and one of my hobbies is bird watching. So I told you, John Myers, that I went to Dauphin Island recently with my parents. It
Yes,
was
you
a
did.
it was a bird watching vacation.
For the people listening, I'm nodding
Yeah.
like really large.
Which I found out that you'd been to Dauphin Island.
Yeah, I lived. Well, I moved to Gulf Shores, and then I lived in Orange Beach. For anyone tracing my past
I'm so
residences,
jealous because
um, it's
love it down there.
and so yeah, that I mean it's right. They're all right next to each other.
Yeah. So
So
we went to because there's an Audubon bird sanctuary and we went to look at the birds and find the birds and we had the most magical experience seeing scissor-tail kites. So you can do this right now. Uh, if you're not driving, you should look at a picture of a scissor-tail kite because it's the most beautiful, majestic, magical bird ever. And we got to see six of them flying over us in the fog, and we were just standing in awe for like 10 minutes just watching them. It was amazing.
what if one like flew into the room right now
I
and
would not believe my eyes.
appeared on the podcast because you said it was magical?
I almost had a picture, but I couldn't. I just decided that you all should just do it yourselves. Go look.
Do
Go
it
look.
yourself.
Yeah.
So a birder is a bird watcher. You just
Yes.
you
It's
take
just
the
another way of.
watch out. You
Yeah.
shorten it by taking the watch out of the middle,
Yeah.
but you still watch. So why are you
Yes.
taking the watch out of the middle?
I don't know. I honestly don't
But
know.
it's the same thing. It's a
Yeah.
synonym. Interesting.
But that ties into our agenda today because we're talking about how hobbies enhance your writing and your life. Um, Before that, we're going to talk about your call to actions, responding to your last responses to our last episode. I said that in the worst way possible. We're responding to your responses of your call to action. Then we're going to do a Hey John Myers segment for the first time, which is where I try to stump John Myers about something.
Oh no.
We're going to talk about hobbies. We have an announcement that we're going to share after that, and then we're going to have a new call to action
Yeah,
for
there's
you
no
to
way we're
respond
getting
to
through
next
all
time.
this. There's just too much.
Yeah,
Continue.
we'll see. We'll see how we do. And then I think John Myers has something that he wants to do at the end again.
Welcome to our first 3-day long episode. This will be 72 hours.
Yeah. Uh, Before this, John Myers sent me like, this is going to take 25 minutes. I was like, no, it's not going to take 25 minutes.
All right.
So let's talk about your responses to last time. So our call to action last time, what was it that we asked?
We
You
asked
had
them
the
if money
wording.
were no object and training were no object, what's their wildest dream? What would they do?
So the first one that we want to share is actually an audio recording. So this is just so you know, we can do audio recordings if you want. So
There you go.
This is from Allison.
Look, this is the bookshelf that has everything. This is Allison's book right here. Go ahead.
So yeah, if you're watching on the video, you can see John Myers
Awesome.
pulling out Allison's
You
book.
can see me nodding my head and pulling up.
But this is Allison's response.
Hi, I'm Alison Ripley Cubitt. I'm the author of a memoir called Misadventures in the Screen Trade. And John, you've asked me a really interesting question. If money was no object and training was no object, what would I do? Well, what I would do is produce a feature film of my second thriller called Nighthawks. It's under my pen name Lambert Nagel, and it's about art, money and power colliding. Just to give you a little bit of a summary, it's a mafia boss addicted to beautiful art, a Catholic priest who knows too much, a modern day Jay Gatsby, and a woman on the run. And it's set in Italy and Boston.
That sounds amazing.
It does. I want to go see that movie already. And
Also,
I
Nighthawk is another bird.
Oh, tell us the history of the Nighthawk.
I wonder if it'll have birds in it.
Allison, go on our YouTube page and comment below if there are birds in this book. I need to read this book. All right.
It really does sound really, really good. I love that idea.
I agree. Next.
And also, what a great pitch.
Oh yeah, seriously. If you need a lesson on how to pitch, there you go.
Yeah, for real. Who's our next one?
Oh, my turn again. So the next one is Verid Neta, rhymes with beta, and she's in Israel, and she's from Israel, but she's actually in the Canary Islands right now, and I cannot pronounce the island. So I think it's Tenerife. So put in the comments if I mispronounce that. And so Verid says, love this concept. I think. Oh wait, sorry. That's Anna's. I'm going to give you Anna's, and then we'll talk.
Oh, okay.
So Anna is not in Israel. I don't know where Anna is.
What happened to Verids?
Huh?
What happened to Verids?
I'm gonna read you Anna's, and
Okay.
then we'll go back to Verid's. And
Okay.
you're gonna read one, and then I will pull up Verid's next.
Okay, sounds good.
So Anna, who is not in Israel or the Canary Islands, I'm sorry, Anna, that you don't.
She's in Wisconsin.
Those places. Her response is, as far as what I would do if money were and time were no object, I would own and operate a bed and breakfast with horse stables in Italy. So she is going international with her.
I love it because I've heard her talk about that before and how much she loves Italy, and definitely a place that I would want to go. I need to talk to Anna if she's been to Italy. Anna, have you been to Italy? Please share.
Call us, Anna.
Yeah, let us know.
Call into the show. Can they do that yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. So now you want to do one, or do you want me to do Verid's now?
I'll read another one so you have time to get Verids up.
Okay.
So this is from Jeanice, who's in my writing group, and I hope you all get to read something that Jeanice has written one day because She's a fabulous writer. She says,
Hi, Denise.
hi. She says, if money and training were no object, I would travel the world, reading, getting to know different cultures, taking photographs. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. No, that's the right one. And writing about what I see, people I meet, and my internal observations regarding my experiences.
See, it's not always easy to pull up the right one, is it? But it was
Well,
the
I
right
got
one.
confused because I thought she said something about traveling space. I'm pretty sure in the full response, she also says that she would explore space, which
Someone
is pretty
someone did
ambitious.
say that.
Yeah, that was Jeanice.
Okay.
So I love that. I love. It's funny how a lot of these are about travel.
International travel and outer
Yeah,
space travel. I've
and space
done
travel.
I've done this with my students before, and it's been a while, so maybe 30 to 40% of them will mention travel, and
Yeah,
10% will mention space.
I love it.
Verid, the real Verid, Neta rhymes with beta. Um, her answer is another one that I love. It also has travel in it.
It does.
I would invest more in marketing my books so they could reach more people and inspire them. Um, I'll put. So I was on the launch team for her last novel. I'll put a picture of me holding her book up in the comments
Yes, please
um,
do.
un, under this when this finally 10 years from now gets on YouTube. I'll put it in the comments under the Facebook when we share this episode, and because it's on an iPad and I want to hold up the iPad right now. I would travel to meet interesting people who inspire me and interview them. That's cool. And I would spend more time in writing retreats and getting mentors. All worthy goals, worthy
Yes.
objectives.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how similar a lot of these are. So this is Bethany. This is my sister, who's an incredible poet. Um, Actually, I can share one of her poems in the liner notes because she has a one. She has a couple published. Actually, she
Cool, do
says,
that.
"Yeah." She says, "If time and money were no object," and in parentheses, she said, "and my kids were taken care of, so my time was my own just for a minute." I would go to a cabin in the woods, completely isolated, and write. But I only say that because I've spent the last 15 years living my life and experiencing so many things that I have all this pent up inspiration and feel like I just need the time and space to get it all out of my head.
Wow.
Yeah. Bethany, I hope you do that one day. For real.
I don't even know you, Bethany, and I hope you do that too.
Yeah.
They are they have common threads going through them
Mm-hmm.
because they've all been drawn to this podcast because there a tribe is forming in front of our very eyes where there's commonalities between these people, and
Mm-hmm.
when we talked about just unlocking the door and all these people with similar interests will go through that door or to the gate of the amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening in front of our very eyes, in our ears.
Yeah, and a lot of the connections is it seems to me 'cause, like we should have said money, training, and time were no
Yeah,
object too. Because
yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, you can go run a bed and breakfast in Italy, but you probably have a lot of things that you're doing right now that are keeping you from doing that. Or like my sister wanting to do that, but having her kids to take care of. It's like if you had all the time in the world. um, but I do hope that you all go and do these things too.
I agree 100%. It's
Yeah.
just it's cool to hear all of these, and later when we get the next call to action, it'll be cool to hear. It's just this is what the podcast is supposed to be. It's about you,
Mhm.
and so this is wonderful.
Yeah. So at the end, we'll have another call to action, and we'll read those next time. So be sure to respond as quickly as possible, so we'll have time to share those. I didn't do the transition last time. Anyway, hey, John Myers,
Hey, what? Why are you saying it that way?
because this is the part of the show where I try to stump you with something,
Oh,
and
good.
I think I actually already did a little bit, which is
The
nice
whole bird thing.
because the birding thing. And this is actually related to birding.
Okay.
So,
You stumped me already.
yeah. So I told you I'm writing a blog post about bird watching, and so all of this is just kind of on my mind. So there's an article by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, who's like in charge of, they like make birding, they've made birding possible and popular. Okay.
Who doesn't know that? I mean,
They like,
seriously.
well, they create these apps called eBird, is where you can, it's like social media for bird watchers where you can track all your birds, and then you can go, like my parents use this and they try to be the top birders in the area, and then you can go find locations that are like hot zones for birds, and then Cornell uses that as data for their studies. But anyway, they have an article that says around 96 million people in the US closely observed, fed, or photographed birds, visited public parks to view birds, or maintained plantings and natural areas around the home for the benefit of birds in 2022. That's more than 35% of the nation's population aged 16 and over. And the article goes on to say that this number has like doubled since 2020. So basically, bird watching is actually becoming extremely popular.
Welcome everybody to Birding Today. I'm John Myers, and we're really tricking you into starting a second podcast about birding. Okay, so
I would do it. I would do it.
You could just teach me these things. All right, so okay.
So
what do I do now?
I don't know. Are you going to be a birder now?
No, that's I am not going to be a birder. I'm not opposed to it. It seems like a healthy hobby. No birds are harmed in this endeavor whatsoever.
Here's one of the things that fascinates me, and this is all related to community. When we go bird watching, okay, there are bird watching people everywhere. They've got their binoculars. Like if you see somebody with binoculars, you go up and talk to them and go, hey, what are you seeing lately? We ran into, at Dauphin Island, we ran into this woman who was like, okay, don't tell anybody, but there's a burrowing owl here.
I saw the picture.
Isn't it cute?
I saw your burrowing. I mean, it looked like a magazine, National Geographic picture. It was that.
I think either my mom or my husband took that picture, but
it was really a good picture. I saw that.
It was adorable. But
so that's another thing you'll have to share on the.
Yeah, now I got more things to. I'm gonna have to go back through this episode, remind myself all the things we have to share. But there's this community around it. Like my parents are very introverted, but if they see somebody with binoculars, they're going to go up and talk to them. Like it's just an acceptable thing to do in this community. The other reason why I find it fascinating is that despite all this technology and access to entertainment that we have, there's still a third of American adults participate in bird watching, which takes patience, time. It's not like super overstimulating or anything. You have to just go outside and sit and wait
and be quiet. You have to be quiet.
And be quiet.
Interesting. So my mind's always going in a million different places, and eventually in a future week we'll have Bob Sines, screenwriter Bob Sines, as a guest on our show, and he has this big giant back porch thing facing a golf course, and there are tons of birds there. And so that's my only connection to, like, so you could sit there literally all day and you would see a bazillion birds, and if you were me, you wouldn't know one from another.
Well, don't let the people on eBird know, because they will come and invade his backyard.
Okay, we won't do that. So what? Like, did you stump me? Like, am I supposed to give you a bird fact? Like, what am I supposed to do to keep you from stumping me? What do I need to do?
I don't know what you mean.
So, did you stump me?
I don't know. Did I?
I have a bird fact. Can I just share a bird fact?
Share a bird fact, and then we'll talk about hobbies.
to avoid being stumped. Um,
Okay.
so while you were telling that story, uh, uh, Uva and Matus, they go by their first names. They're producing, writing, directing filmmakers, and actually brought them over from London over here to the States, and we were the southern premiere of their film, My Friend the Polish Girl. We got stuck in traffic. Um, Going back to the airport for 5 hours. And when you're sitting with virtual strangers for 5 hours in the car, you talk about everything. And she was talking about a bird thing. So they were here during the spring, during this time of the year when robins are popping out. And
Mm.
there, and so she was, I don't know if she's a birder or not, but she was doing what you're doing, where like, oh, look, this is this kind of bird, and oh, this kind of bird, and I'm like, I don't know anything about birds, but there's a robin, and she's like, that's not a robin. Well, I know what a robin, like everyone knows what a robin is, and so because it had red feathers right here, it was clearly a
Yeah.
robin. I grew up knowing what a robin is, and it's probably the only bird other than a parrot that I could recognize, and uh, and so in England they're not read like that, and so and
Yeah.
she so she wasn't pulling my leg there, and so her my robin was not her what the robin she had never seen a robin that looked like the robin I knew, and I thought she was teasing me that wasn't a robin.
Yeah, we have a game called Wingspan. Everybody who plays Wingspan knows, like, this is the best game. But we have European birds and American birds, and the American robin and the European robin are like completely different.
Yep, I learned that a couple years ago,
Yeah,
so there you
I
didn't
love it.
stump me.
I would love
How
to travel and just like see different birds in different countries.
about- if money were no object,
If
then
money were
you know.
okay, there we go. That's what I would do.
All right, cool. I don't think I was stumped.
That's okay. I'll try again. One day I'll stump you. I just wanted to talk about birds, really.
I can tell.
um, so why do hobbies enhance your writing and your life? I chose this topic because um, for a long time as a writer, I felt like I had to write about stuff that I didn't know. And I know that it's a very common thing to say, like, write what you know, which we can go deeper into that because I see John Myers looks like he's rolling his eyes. And there's a lot of things we could say about that. But I did actually become a better writer when I started writing about things where I was like, I do know something about knitting. Why don't I write a fantasy story about knitting magic? And I did, and it's one of my favorite short stories that I've written. Or I was teaching a poetry class and I had my students do this, and I was like, what's something that you know? And one of my students said, "Oh my goodness, I just realized I'm about to mention burning again. I'm so sorry." He said, "I'm into falconry." There's another word for it, I think, but he was like, I like send falcons off and like catch them or whatever." I was like, "You need to write a poem about that." Um, and I love asking people to do that because they usually pull out something just like really interesting. Have
So
you
that
had
so when you said I was rolling my eyes to the people that can't see this, so it's a love hate relationship with
Mhm.
write what you know, because
Yes.
because people will oversimplify that to think it's only write what you know and then to write about them, and so it's write what you live or write what you like I write a lot of my screenplays have taken place in this turn of the century, last century, like 1899, 1903, right? Well, I didn't know that, right? But I researched it. Now I know it, and
Mhm.
I know the that 5 year span over that turn of the century, inside and out. And so I am writing what I know. Or I, uh, I told Emily in the last episode. I'm not going to tell the story now again, to remind me to tell you about the bicycle story. And so I saw this thing happen, which I don't have time to tell the story now, but and it was the weirdest, strangest thing that I've ever seen happen when I wasn't expecting anything to happen. While I was driving through the woods in North Carolina, I saw this thing. It's not anything supernatural or anything like that. It was a real thing that really happened. And if I told you it, you'd be like, yeah, there's no way that happened. But it really happened. And so um, if you were to put that in a story or to put that in a screenplay, it like the audiences couldn't connect with it,
Yeah.
because it was just so weird. And but if you ground that the weird thing that happened in a story that does make sense, not some guy driving through the woods and I'm looking out in the window and seeing that. So the thing really happened, and so you have to live life to experience all of these things that happen to put them in
Mhm.
your work. But you you're not telling a documentary. You're
Yeah.
not, because that would be boring. And
Yeah.
so that's why I made the face. Like, so it is right what you know, but it's not right exactly what, like, only what you know. Like, well, your knitting example is good, right? So it is what you know, and it is your favorite piece, but it's not. You're not like writing a knitting tutorial. You've fictionalized it.
Yeah, I write fantasy, so I'm not writing what I know, but I am often extrapolating from things that I'm interested in, because I have the most fun writing about that. Like my thesis in my MFA, I it's a story that has mushroom based magic. So next episode, get ready for mushrooms. um,
You must dump me
um,
with I don't know anything about mushrooms either. So
okay, mushrooms are fascinating, but that was just something that I was studying at the time in I did like a summer permaculture class, and so it ended up in the story. And I think that when you have interests and hobbies, and it's not even something that you have to like become an expert in, but just exploring things that interest you, it's like John Myers was saying about experience. It opens up your experience of life and gives you so much more material to put into your work.
it's when you told me that we were going to talk about hobbies, my hobby was always writing until it became my profession. And
Yeah.
so I don't have a birder thing. And so
Mm.
I collect something, which is I'm not going to talk. I'm not, that'll be a future Stump
Okay.
Emily if we ever do that, because I'm looking at some of them over there. So, it's a tangible thing. And, but it's a very strange thing to
Oh, now
collect.
I'm curious.
And the thing that it contains, I don't even like, and so I collect this thing
Oh.
that contains something that I don't even like. But is that I mean, is collecting one specific thing a hobby? A hobby?
I think it's about you're exploring something that you're interested in. Like
True.
what are things that you do beside like there are probably lots of things that you do besides writing.
I hobby, and I write and I collect this one thing.
There you go. But so when you're coming up with a story, what kind of experiences are you drawing from?
So I do a ton of research. So back in the
Mm.
back in the day when when I was new, I could write one screenplay a year. I think three a year is the right number if anyone ever wants to know my opinion. But
Mm.
and the people that say, "Oh, I've spent 10 years on this screenplay," you might have a screenplay that you haven't sold yet, and it's 10 years old, but it's not. You don't keep like you. I guess some people do, but you don't really just keep working on that one and not move on to the next one. You might go back and update it and do things to it. I'm not talking about that. And but back in the day, I would spend 9 months on research and outlining, and then I could write the screenplay in 3 months. Right?
Yeah.
Um, the I've never written more than five in a year, and that was because I had specific deadlines that I had to hit, and two of them were sitcom pilots, and still unsold. and uh, and so I had to get those done. But
Yeah.
I would never want to live that year again. I did that, like,
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that. I enjoyed 2 or 3 a year. But I can do 5 a year if someone's paying me and they have a deadline for me to hit. I know that I can do it because I've done it. So
Yeah.
that's all I can say on that. It's research.
Well, I like that you said that, writing was a hobby before it became a profession, because I think that is what it is for a lot of people. It's not the main primary thing that they do. Um, it's I actually loved. I went to so I have a writing group, and we do a thing called bully nights, which is where you just sit down and write and you time yourselves. And there was one woman there who I had just met, and we were like, "What are you working on? And you should come to writing group." And she was like, "Well, I don't really want to come to writing group because I'm just doing this for fun." She was like, "I'm just exploring this, and this is just for fun for me."
We talked a little bit about that last week, like for a little bit, like 2 sentences, that it matters if you're writing for yourself or if you're writing
Yeah.
for an audience. That makes a big difference
Mm-hmm.
too. I'm still 3 topics behind, but it ties into this. Those commonalities that were between the viewers/listeners, uh, and then it fits in. It fits in with this. So the one thing we have in common is that we're all observers of the human condition, right? And so if we write it down, then we're writers. If we write it down for an audience and get paid for it, then you're a professional writer. But we're all observers of the human condition, right? Are you? I don't know. Are your parents writers? Oh, I know your dad is because I've had his book. I have his book. And, but is your mom a writer?
No, she's a reader. She reads a lot.
But she would still be an observer of human condition.
Yes.
So this podcast is for everyone. If you've ever seen a human, this podcast is for you. It's the #1 podcast for people that have seen humans before.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing that I wanted to say about hobbies, and I don't want it to seem like it doesn't have to be like knitting. It could just be like I like watching movies with people, or I like making dinner for people or something. Hobbies help you meet really interesting people and connect with people. Like I was saying with the bird watching, there's like a thing where like we have a commonality here, so let's talk about it. My husband is he's kind of introverted, but he got into playing this Star Wars war game called Legion, and he plays it on Friday nights with he did it with strangers for a while. Now those strangers have become friends. And then he also started painting miniatures for it. So he paints our bonus room is just full of mini Star Wars people that he paints. And now he paints those virtually with other people on Tuesday nights. And so this hobby has put him into this community that he never would have met otherwise, and made all these friends that he wouldn't have known.
And it's totally separate from his job.
Oh, so, yeah. I
mean, it's
like therapy for him to sit down and paint. Yeah.
it's genuinely a hobby. Yeah. And so when you were saying that part, I read a book about it. I'm looking at the shelf. I don't see it over there. I'm thinking about moving my studio for this podcast away from these bookshelves, but there's so many things here I can just pull off the shelf. But so there's this book called Muffler Men, and it's about people. They work at muffler shops, but they make those little muffler guys that sculptures and that are that are in front of muffler shops. So there's one that I've seen where it's a whole family of muffler people, right? And there's Statue of Liberty muffler made out of mufflers, and there's just all these different variations of people and their pets, little dogs made out of mufflers. So that's their hobby. But because not everyone, if there's 7 people at a muffler shop, not everyone is a muffler man. I'm going to call them an artist, and artist, and they wouldn't call themselves artists. they 12 hours a day they put mufflers on cars, right? But then they
Yeah.
have this hobby that's off to the side that
Yeah.
but it is related. So that kind of goes back to writer being a hobby and then writer being a profession.
Mm.
That the muffler people that make muffler peoples, they that's a hobby, but it's still related to their job. They're not where
Yeah.
your husband's. It's not related to their job at all.
Yeah.
Birding, but for a writer though, then birding, you're going to write about it. Then it ties back to what you're trying to say. So there you go.
Yeah, that's one of the things that my dad's always telling me, and he's a writer, but he does primarily nonfiction. But he's always like, as a writer, there is no wasted time. Like you explore stuff, you try stuff, and if you fail or if you go, you know what, that wasn't for me, it's not wasted time because you're a writer. You get to write about it.
Yep.
And I love with the hobby versus profession for writers. One of my favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson, talks about, and I need to find the video where he talks about this, but he's like, if you play basketball for fun, nobody's like, hey, when are you going to get into the major leagues? Is that even the right term for basketball? I don't know anything about sports. They're,
Yeah,
when
I
are you
don't
going to become a
either. So.
professional basketball player? And people do the same thing with writers, like, oh, when are you going to get published, or when are you going to make it a full-time job? It doesn't, like, it's okay to just do it for fun.
Yeah, we're recording this during March Madness, and like I come from a sports family, and I still like I don't know what we're talking
I
about.
don't expect us to have a sports episode.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to happen.
that won't happen. So yeah, I mean that's a great point. As usual, Emily's always right. That is a fantastic point.
Oh, thank you. That's all I got. Do you have anything you want to add before we move on?
Um, yeah, but it's from 3 topics ago.
Go for it.
That so that so the movie with Steve Martin and Jack Black that were their birders.
Yes.
Now that I know that, so I just used the term birders, which I would have never used an hour ago, and but I read that book. I heard that author interviewed, um, and the movie didn't exist yet. He was like, I just sold my book to whatever studio it was, um, and when you were talking about birding earlier, I totally forgot about that, and then something you said reminded me of that movie, and it was when I said write what you know, um, without making it a documentary. So that film it is pretty close to real stories that happened. I mean, the actors change it, right? So it's not it, and there has to be a story arc, right? Like not everything's a story. I walked out to the mailbox, came back, and that's not a story, right? And everything with a beginning, middle, and an end it isn't a story. That trip to the mailbox was not a story, but it had a beginning, middle, and an end. And but it was very. The book wasn't fiction. The book was about his life as a birder, and and then but the movie was and I don't like is the book better than the movie? Is the movie better than the book conversation? Because they're two separate entities, and but it was pretty close to the stories that had happened to the guy in real life. I guess the point I was trying to make, which so there you go. A hobby is impacting your writing. There you go. I tied a bow on it.
Yeah, I love it. And if you're like, to me, having external interest in reading nonfiction about things or watching documentaries, like all of that gives me so much more to write about. Because if I'm only interested in writing, I'm going to write about writing. Right? There has to be something else fueling that. So when you're like, I don't know where to get any ideas, I don't know where ideas come from, a lot of times think about your experiences and you might find something.
Yeah, and as a screenwriter, no one wants to watch a movie about screenwriters. Like,
right.
My favorite movie is Barton Fink, and but that I have other favorite movies that are more
Yeah.
popular,
Yeah.
but no one wants to watch a movie about a screenwriter, and so there you go.
Right. We have an announcement.
Oh, a big announcement. We we teased last week. Of course, you could be listening to these out of order, but we teased last week that we're having an appearance, and we are. We're having an appearance
We forgot to
on.
talk about it.
We forgot to tie. I forgot to get back to it. On the 23rd and 24th, at Governor's Crossings, we're at the Southern Oasis Film Festival in Sevierville, Tennessee. I have to go to Tennessee of all places. Imagine that.
Wow.
Uh, and it's Saturday and Sunday. We will put on the social media what our time slot is. The schedule's being done right now, and at that film festival, and we'll put a link to the film festival as well. At that film festival, we're giving away 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 subscriptions to WriterCon magazine. What's WriterCon magazine? It's I don't want to I don't want to compare it to Writer's Digest, but it's because it's better. And but that to frame it with something that you're familiar with, it's a new magazine that started last year, and we're giving away 1 month subscriptions. We'll figure out a way to include the people that can't come to Tennessee in the drawing. So we're going to give away 3, maybe. And Emily haven't and I haven't talked about it. Maybe if you come see us, you can have 2. We'll put your name twice in the bucket, and then if you just email us at writebettertogethernow@gmail.com, writebettertogethernow@gmail.com, then you can have 1 entry into the bucket. And so we're giving away 3 of those. I write for this magazine from time to time. I'm also the editorial cartoonist for it. I retired as a cartoonist, like when I was in college the first time, like when I was 20 or whatever. And I retired back. It became too political for me, and it was when I won't even talk about what the election race was, and so I literally retired and I quit doing it, and but then when this magazine came up, I'm like, oh, excuse me, but I used to be a Christian editorial cartoonist, and they're like, what? And so I'm on the masthead now and everything, and then I write articles. My next article is coming out in September, and it is the topic that we're going to be talking about so we're going to do an episode of the podcast at the film festival as well, and it underscores, which we haven't mentioned today, the importance of getting out of your bubble and actually going and hanging with these other people that are like-minded creatives, and we're standing true to our word, and we're going to do that ourselves when we go to Sevierville, and that's what the article that I'm writing that comes out in September in WriterCon. That's what it's about. That's what this podcast is about, and I think that's all I have to say about it.
Awesome. I love it.
There you go.
We have a call to action.
Oh, that's what's now.
Yes.
So tell us about it.
So I want you all to write about a hobby. So I was in a class where we got to give each other writing assignments, and I did this one, and my friend Marcy, shout out to Marcy, wrote this incredible essay about dancing that she was like, I wouldn't have even thought of writing about this.
Is this the Marcy I know or a different Marcy?
It is the Marcy you know, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, I probably wouldn't have never even thought to write about this if you hadn't assigned it. So I want you to think about just, it can be a hobby like you would think of like a craft or bird watching or something like that, or it can be just an interest that you want to explore more, but I want you to write about it. If you're a poet, you can write a poem, you can write a story about it, you can write an essay about it, but we want you to write about a hobby. And dig deep into your own experiences with that.
I would have to write. I would have to write about the thing I can't enter, but I, I can still do the prompt. So I would have to write about the thing I collect.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would be really interesting.
that would be.
And I'm already doing this because I said earlier I'm writing. I just realized like I'm already writing about bird watching in my next blog post, so I'm already doing it.
And you did it with knitting
I did do
already.
it with knitting. I did.
Did
Where
little
can they share that with us?
So, good question. We want you to share it publicly, and we want you to share it all in one place. So, in the comment in the Facebook page, is that a good place? Do you think?
Yeah.
We don't want it. We're trying to funnel all the responses into one place without putting up any speed bumps or roadblocks to your
Yeah.
participation. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to comment in the YouTube, 100% you can do that. And
Yeah.
And if you made a video of you doing your craft and it's easier to email, you can do that. But if you can put it in somehow in some form on the Facebook page for Write Better Together, we would super appreciate you to put it in that one spot.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be long either. If it is longer than like a page, we probably like won't be able to talk about it very much, but we'll find ways. We're still figuring out what that looks like. So
And if we don't, as you can tell from this conversation, if we don't talk about it, at some point, these if we don't talk about it during the time that we're talking about the responses, like how we talked about the actual response today, it still is going to come up because
yeah.
these things, as you can tell, things from the past come up, and so if we talk about it and I'm not going to promise you we're going to talk about this in episode 4, but if we talk about it in episode 4, because it might be episode 3 or it might be episode 5, I don't know, and
Yeah.
but if we talk about it in episode 4, we still could wind up talking about yours in episode 9 or something because things
Yeah.
from the past come up because they all have entered our cultural inventory.
Yeah, I love it. I like the connection to last week's vocabulary.
You can't miss an episode.
Yeah.
And now it's time for... What's it time for now?
I thought you had the list.
I do.
It's our closing.
Oh, it's time for Emily's hot take. So we don't know how to end this, and so we each have our own version of a suggestion how to end this. Anna was the one who equally liked both of them.
Okay.
Right, and then I saw there was a poll on the bottom of Spotify, and
I forgot to check it.
well, and I couldn't get back to it because I went to
okay.
check, and so I don't know how to get to it. Can you tell people how to get to it?
Somehow, when you're listening to Spotify,
Only on Spotify in that
only
case,
on
right?
Spotify, there's a little poll that will allow you to choose the ending, and you can also give us suggestions. I actually like the idea of just ending with the call to action, but
yeah,
I don't know.
It's your podcast. It's whatever you, the listener, viewer, where this is going to end up. And
yeah. By the way, you can give us feedback on anything.
Yeah.
If you're like, I hated this part, like, or I think you all should do this instead, or this is too long, or whatever, let us know.
I'm shaking my head no. So I'm joking because I'm smiling, which you can't see if you're listening in your car. And that's like a big part of what I do. Like I say one thing and then I shake my head, meaning okay, I don't mean that, which isn't going to make any sense. I'm going to have to wear a hat that rattles or something, a hat with jingle bells on it or something so people can tell when I'm shaking my head because it's like a lifelong habit that I've done. I'll be like, and then people think the grass is green, but really it's red, and then I'm shaking my head back and forth. It's not, and people don't really think that, and it doesn't make any sense. So what's your hot take?
Oh, I didn't know I was doing. Oh, I guess I said I was going to do a hot take.
Yes. Are you doing one?
um. So the teaser that I said when I was like, "Hey, let's do a hot take," is I said that the Dead Poet Society was a bad movie.
That's a hot
But
take.
it's a hot take that I only partly agree with because I actually like that movie, but I don't like it at the same time.
So, and then what do they do with that?
Just talk about it.
Where do they talk about it?
In Facebook or YouTube
And
comments.
what hashtag do they use?
Hashtag. What did I say last time? Hashtag hot
You
take.
were yeah,
Hashtag write better together hot take.
yeah, you were suggesting one, and then I'm not sure you came out with one. So that's what it is. Write better together. Hashtag write better together. Hot take.
Yeah,
We'll
and this
see.
may never happen again. This is experimenting.
But what will happen again?
Hell no.
I realize that the people that can't see it um, don't know. You just hear that noise.
Yeah.
That's the sound of my head shaking. Right there. No, you don't know what that is. It's a bag of tiles with letters on them, and Emily still doesn't have a bag of tiles. So I will bring Emily a bag of tiles to Sevierville, and so she'll have her own, so she can stump me. But until then, you can stump me twice in the same episode. And but until then, I'm gonna have to try to stump her again. Not too hard. There are 100 tiles. 2 are blank. 98 tiles with letters on them. Emily, which letter will I be pulling out today?
B.
B as in
Butterfly.
butterfly. I thought you were
Or
going to say
bird.
bird. Is it B? If this is B, won't it just like be the most amazing thing? Oh.
Oh.
If it would have been an O, you would have got 1 point. Emily.
Oh, is that? Do I get points?
Sure. There's a point on it, right? There's a point down there.
Yeah,
You would
there's a
get 1
point.
point.
Well, I
All
didn't.
right, there you go. Sorry, I feel so bad that you didn't guess the O. I forgot to say the ring the bell thing. Like what? What are they supposed to do? Ring the bell? What?
Yeah, you all can subscribe to our podcast wherever you're listening to or on YouTube. I don't even know what Ring the Bell is.
Maybe it isn't a thing. Like they're supposed to subscribe, like. They're supposed to like.
Like
They're
it.
supposed. They're supposed to smash something, aren't they?
They are?
Like
I've never heard
go
that.
go out on your front porch and smash your parents' ring doorbell. Will that work?
If
Like
there
no.
if
I'm
there's a
shaking my
Ring
head
the
back
Bell
and forth.
option,
Do
do
not do
it.
that. Do what?
If there's a Ring the Bell option, do it. Or tell us
Yes.
about it.
I think
Um
that's the notification thing. There you go.
oh, okay.
That's a bell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So smash the thing. Don't turn on the blender. Don't put toast in the toaster. Hey, we did it. We made it through our very first episode.
Yay.
We included them this
We did
time
it.
because we couldn't
We
have done
couldn't
it
do it
without
without
you.
you.